Hey guys, it's Urban Ethics here, and welcome to the first episode of Let's Talk. Okay, so today is a very special day because probably only once in a year this will happen. I do it on such a public medium. I'm going to be talking about racism in South Africa. Okay, now first of all, there's a few things I've got to clarify. I myself am not racist, being first and most important, obviously. Secondly, I am talking from my opinion, although I find no human reason to be racist, but I'm not saying anything about your beliefs. I'm simply stating mine and how I feel how what I feel affects racism so much. Thirdly, I'm not trying to prove anybody wrong. Okay? So I'm not trying to bring down my country or anything like that, because I know there's some people that will probably think that, which is kind of hilarious. I'm not laughing. Alright. Yeah, so let's start. Well, where do we begin on this topic exactly? I mean, it's been such a big part of my country since the beginning of time. I mean, slavery. Yeah, yeah, it's quite vast. But I don't think I'm gonna go that far back since those are primal times. Okay, well, times are just getting more primal in my opinion, but let's talk about more recent racism. Okay, there's first of all, I want to point something out. Our races are pointed out to us every day of our lives. And you know, how can you ever forget about something if it's all you ever hear about? We learn from us in South Africa. It's part of our curriculum. We learn about apartheid, and we always learn the one part of the story where white people were so bad, but it isn't like that. You know, there's always two sides to a story, and obviously, not everybody is bad, and not all white people are privileged. Second of all, I'd like to say that the fact that we learn all these misconceptions about white people at school also has a big influence on how things work, because I mean it's just like a constant a constant snowball in a way, because we always, like, for me, I see it in my town because my town is very small and I never fit in. I used to be that girl that they spread stories about because, oh, I hang out with black people, and it was like the funniest thing for me is like they'd always ask me the one question, have you ever slept with a black guy? And I'd be like, out of all the good things you could ask me what I had for breakfast and I'd be more satisfied. But anyway, so yeah, so I know a bit of the perspective, and I've never been unkind to anybody, no matter how racist they are towards me, even if they're white, because I mean, I have experienced white racism, black racism, and yeah. So yeah, and pretty much the most common thing is that we are living on assumptions. That is why racism is there, and that is why inequality is still such a big part, because it's all we ever hear about. It's all we focus our lives on. We live our lives by the role we play racially. And I've noticed this in many other places like America and all over the world. There is a racial role, and you fill it for yourself. Don't blame anybody because you believe, just because you're black, you gotta be poor. Or just because I'm white, I'm gonna be privileged. Or just because he is colored, he drinks. And I personally feel we just make it worse, because the more we hear about it, the more we complain about it, the more we hate each other. It's like me saying, oh, look at that black person, and being kind of like offish, because, oh, I'm a white, I've heard all these things about these black people. And then the black person is like, oh, look at the way that girl's looking at, look at her, she look at me funny. And then, you know, they just have no contact at all, and they leave with a negative feeling, and nobody actually wanted to hurt anybody. But it's because of all of our assumptions and our stereotypes that we end up kind of hurting each other, I guess, without actually trying to hurt each other. We're all just susceptible to what we learn to be. And especially, I guess, in towns where there's not a lot of um
and a half hours
that
later.
word that word where damn it. Anyway. So what I'm gonna say is there is not a lot of clarification on anything really. And you know what I've realized? That these assumptions are so over exaggerated that it's kind of impossible to change them. They are so part of my society and your society that they have become our society. You know, society has become a big, big box of assumptions. Everybody assumes things. If you don't make money, you're going to die because, you know, you can't live without money. And, you know, we build stereotypes in these things. And we kind of hurt each other because of this. And all of these are very shallow concepts, actually. I feel society really did a good job in making everybody believe that everything has a predictable outcome. And, you know, if there's a certain scenario, there will be a certain outcome. Which I feel it's sad, really, because how can a place develop without, you know, the freedom of thought and, you know, trying things out, which has always been a very important thing for me. You know, I've been to townships and everywhere. I don't even like to say it because I feel like, you know, a township is just a place for people to live. And for me, it's one of the nicest places actually because there's such a peace there. And it's not in all areas, you know, everybody has their bad side, I mean, every place has its bad area. But in general, people are very friendly. And the moments, you know, I love South Africa so much. You know why? Because from my experience, if I am nice to anybody, they will be nice to me. It's just a matter of opening up, you guys. Why is it? I honestly don't get it. You know, we are so obsessed with these outer things. I think it's part of our society. I think it's how we live. You know, we base such important roles on the color of our skin. We let our whole country become a hellhole because of the fucking color of somebody's skin. And no matter how right or wrong what you want to do is, it's just like money, you know. We base people's worth on the amount of money they make and what role they play in society. I honestly don't get it. I mean, how can we do that? How can we live in a society where we are told, we are educated to make our own decisions, but we still judge people for their materialistic value? Honestly, I think society is the most backwards shit ever, and in my opinion, I feel like we're going that way. We're just going backwards. We're creating violence. We're making people go back to primitive, instinctive ways. You know why? Because it's all they have left. All they have left is to look at that box and say, if I sell that box, I get $10 and I survive for another 5 years. How is that any different from a leopard saying, if I eat that buck, I'll be full for another 2 days that I can survive? So yeah, but anyway, that doesn't really matter. The point of the concept is that racism, in all, is not only, you know, your fault or the racist guy's fault or the politician who was against black people's fault. Racism is all of our faults. Racism is in all of us. You know, it is up to you to change it. Like that famous quote says, I don't know who said it, but charity begins at home. You become the change you want to see. And unless you're not willing to get up your lazy fucking ass and do something about your circumstances, instead of sit there and feel sorry for yourself about what the color of your skin is, then quite frankly, my darling, you do not deserve. Nobody deserves anything that they never knew how to get for themselves. I mean, there's another thing about society actually. We live on instant gratification. Everything is just, you know, quick and fast, and we all. It's so It's so fundamental in us from the moment we grow up, actually. We grow up we grow up becoming the essentially assuming people. We assume things. Life is about assuming because we want to control our lives. We don't want variables. I'm sorry, but as far as I know, life is about variables. Life is about learning. And as much as I've suffered in my life, and as much as I've had pain in my life, at least I know who I am and where I stand. And I'm not just following some fad and listening to what somebody told me to do. I'm actually giving everybody a chance to speak their mind because I understand freedom. I understand the fact that I am, therefore everybody else is. How can I allow myself to be justified if I cannot justify the life of another, even if the color of his skin is black? And I mean, how can this even be a superiority complex? Understand that Africans in the history timeline, if you're Christian or whatever, point is they developed later, or not, they didn't develop later, but they was civilized, um, suburban, whatever. They were taken over and became like a place later. But I mean, if I look at my African people, quite frankly, and I look at the rest of the world, I'm really glad we are a third world country. We might have our problems and we might have our people that are still naive, but at least we're not following fads and we're not feeling sorry for ourselves. Listen, I'm sorry, I might be white, but this is me talking from my opinion. You guys can hate, it's fine, but those American people, those American black people, nothing against you guys, really. I can see that there's a lot that are trying to change. But I feel that half of the reason you are still where you are today is because you chose to be there. You chose to sit there and say, I was born here, therefore I have been shot in the leg automatically. Therefore I will be crippled for the rest of my life. The thought is the thing that has the power here. You guys have a lot more privileges than most of the even I could wish for. You guys actually have a working, living economy. And I understand that you guys have your problems and everything, but you make the most of what you have. And you stop thinking about why you can't do it and who's against you, and you actually do it and you make change. Stop sitting there and, like, especially in everything. Black people are always bashing because I'm black and I grew up here, and white people are always the privileged ones. I'm sorry, I've never been privileged in my life, and I don't even plan to be privileged, quite frankly, because I really don't want to be privileged, but that's a topic for another day. So my point is that you can sit there and tell me about all the shit about what went wrong with you, which in my, like, especially with this whole apartheid thing, it's a younger generation that is extremely racist and extremely angry. But I mean, can you really be? You know, especially with this whole thing of apartheid and everybody always, especially the younger generation, as I said, the people that didn't go through these things, but the people that were taught about it are the ones that are ranting and raving. Especially in South Africa, it's a very popular trend that older people have more respect and work ethic. And then these younger children just demand and demand, and they expect so much to be given to them just because of what they didn't even go through. Look, it's over. You are where you are. You can't change anything. No matter how much you rant and rave about it, no matter how many poems you write about white privilege and, being black or being colored or being Italian, whatever you want to be, whoever you are, first of all, it's the color of your skin. It doesn't determine who you are. Second of all, you give it power by letting that thought become you. You are the one that lets it affect you negatively. You are the one that grows up thinking the way the thought lets you think. And you, lastly, are the one that can bring the change. You are the only one that will ever change life for you. It's a mindset. It's nothing about your surroundings. It's a thing. You guys think It's all about society. Sure, it's fucked up, but society is fucked up for everybody. I mean, come on. You wanna racially classify fucked upness of society now? You're not gonna get anywhere. It's equally fucked up for all of us, just in different ways. We all have emotional struggles and pains. Why must your struggle be worse than anybody else's struggle just because they have money? Just remember, just because somebody has the privilege to get money and do this and do that doesn't mean that they are privileged emotionally. Money doesn't give you anything in life. Let me just make this clear. And this is one common thing that I really hate about society is that money is supposed to be this ultimate resource for life. Living was never dependent on the exchange of little papers. When like this is out of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where the guy says, the strangest part about humanity is that they were mostly concerned about the exchanging of small green pieces of paper when it wasn't even the green pieces of paper that wanted to be happy. So, final thoughts. You are your final thoughts. You are the one that's going to change this. You are the one that's ultimately going to be you. You can't be anything else. Why let yourself be so negatively affected? You understand of course that the fact that you give this concept acknowledgments means that you are letting it have power. You are the one as well. A game is always give and take. It's not just racism, it is the reaction as well. So be the person you think and reflect yourself onto society. Stop thinking about racism and all these things because this is never going to change. If we don't stop talking about it so much and stop having it everywhere and stop, trying to score brownie points because of, oh, white privilege, oh, coloreds, drunk coloreds, oh, so many O's about so many materialistic things, nothing is ever going to change. Let me have that straight. I can guarantee you, actually, I don't know, but I can guarantee you that if race doesn't completely leave the picture for not only you but everybody, but it starts obviously with you. Nobody else can do it but you. Remember, one candle can light another candle. And if it doesn't start like that, then it's never going to change and it's just going to get worse because more and more people grow up with these concepts in their head and more people are going to live them out and give them power. So just don't be something you are not. You weren't born with these scriptures on your forehead about how your color predicts what you have in life. You were born with a healthy mind, a healthy body, and ability to live. You might as well do it, because shit ain't gonna change, okay? Life is fucked up. So you might as well make the most of it. Quote for the day: the thought only has power if you give it. Thank you. That was the end of the first episode. Thank you very much. I know I can rant and rave, but it's a very passionate thing for me. I love people and I don't understand why they let themselves be so negatively affected. It's like you kind of lose yourself along the way. Anyway, have a wonderful day, guys. I'll smile you later. Like, favorite, and subscribe down there. And if you really, really feel this in your soul, the anti-racism fights. By the way, actually, let me just say, if you don't do this, you are racist. Better share this video because it's time for change. Not only for you and me, but for everybody and for everything. Not only with racism, but the whole world. Let's start living for ourselves and not for what everybody else wants us to be. Smell you later, guys.